We're going to go through how we go about taking measurements for your chaps today. We've got Daryl here, and we're going to measure him for a pair. You're going to need our order form that we send you. It has the different places that you're going to measure. You're going to need a roll of Scotch tape, painter's tape. This works well. You're going to need a cloth tape. I want to caution everybody when you measure it that you make sure you know which end has the starting number and which has the ending number, because we've had in the past people send me measurements where they measured going the other way and they'll say it's a 39 and they don't realize that they're measuring from the wrong end, and then everything's discombobulated. So those are just a few of the things, and then you need a pencil or fine Sharpie works great because we're going to mark on this tape. So alrighty. So I'll have Daryl write down the numbers as we take them, but I'm going to start with his waist measurement. We're going to measure this around his waist, over his belt, kind of right at the bottom of the belt, so you're not up at the top but in the middle area there. And we're going to measure that waist measurement, and I don't measure it tight. I like a finger underneath it. So he's at 40 and a half roughly. Now we're going to start taking our thigh measurements, and our thigh measurements, this is where the tape really comes in. So I'm going to put this tape right down that seam of his jeans. Hopefully it'll stick, sometimes it doesn't. Down to his calf. If we're doing shotguns, we definitely need to be down to his calf. If you're doing chinks, it's not quite so critical. Okay. Next, I'm going to take the tape measure. I'm going to slide it around his upper thigh, and I'm going to pull it up fairly snug in the crotch. And I'm going to take this measurement, and I'll need your Sharpie here. And I'm going to put a mark right there on my tape. Okay. That measurement is 27 inches. So his upper thigh is 27 inches. Now I'm going to have him bend his leg enough that I can find where where his top of his knee is, right above the kneecap, right where it starts to break over. That measurement is going to be where we're going to take our upper, or our knee measurement, but we want to measure from the upper thigh to that spot, which is approximately 8 inches, and we're gonna put that mark there. Then we're going to divide that in half, which is 4 inches. And then we're going to measure down to the widest part of his calf, and we're going to just go ahead and we'll figure that measurement out. That's roughly 16, and so these are where we're going to take all of our measurements. I'll just write 16 right there. That's the upper thigh to calf measurement. So we did measure our upper thigh to our knee, which was 8 inches. I just didn't tell you that was the upper thigh. And that's how we determine where the middle of our middle thigh measurement's going to go. So now all we have to do is go ahead and measure the upper thigh, because we know exactly where that's going to be. It's going to be 23 inches mid thigh. And we know where the 1 inch above the knee or the kneecap is. We're just going to put that on the line. Going to have our finger behind there. That's 18 inches. We're going to measure our calf most generally, our calf measurement and our knee measurement will be approximately the same, within an inch. If it's a little different than that, that's not a problem, but so like this in here, we're at 18 inches. So we've created our upper thigh, our middle thigh, our knee, and our calf measurements. We are using a constant place where we're going to measure from. Next, we're going to hold at the bottom or at the middle of the belt, and we're going to measure down to this line, which is a little hard to see, but we're going to kind of do a little guesstimating, and we're at 8 inches. That's our front rise, front of the leg, right down where the crease will be. So our yoke will set on that line. We're going to measure mid rise, and we're at 8.5. And then we're going to measure kind of back around the back here, and this just tells us how far up this goes here. We're at 10 inches. So if we're measuring for a pair of chinks, we're ready to measure an outseam. An outseam is going to run right down the outside of the leg. We're going to be able to put this where we up here at the top. That's our mid rise was 8.5, so we know we're in the right spot. We're in the same spot we measured. If we're measuring for a pair of chinks, we're going to ask our customer, or if you're at home measuring for me, where you want them. Do you want them to touch the top of your boot, the end of the fringe, or do you want them to touch just midway up your calf, or do you want them just below? You get to determine that, and this is how we figure that out. I'm going to say that Daryl's going to want them about the top of his boots. So we're going to say that our outseam for this pair of chinks would be 26 inches. If we were building for a pair of shotguns, we'd measure to the ground. And to the ground is 30, we'll call it 38 inches. If we're going to, now if you'll turn and face the camera kind of, we've still got our line here. So we know where our inseam is. We know where that's going to line up. So he wants them right at the top of his boots. So his inseam on this particular pair is going to be 19 inches for a pair of chinks. If we're measuring for a pair of shotguns, we're going to measure all the way to the top of the instep, which would be roughly 26 inches.